Hey guys, let's go here. I actually have like a huge pile of uni work to do, but I thought I'd rather make a video. So today I am doing bucket list goal number, where I'm going to be reading the original versions of Fairytales. Now I am really afraid right now because I have never actually read them. I mean, I've read the Grimm versions, but I heard that those aren't actually the originals, and the originals are much worse. So if I can find them on the internet, I will read them. If not, I'll just read a summary. But I heard they were really, really bad, and I feel like I'm about to ruin my entire childhood, but YOLO, am I right? Let me do some Google search. Disturbing origins of 10 famous fairy tales. Cinderella. Here, Perrault is much nicer than Grimm. In his version, the two cruel stepsisters get married off to members of the royal court after Cinderella is properly married to the prince. In the Grimm story, not only do the stepsisters cut off parts of their feet in order to fit into the glass slippers, surprise, surprise, the blood pooling in their shoes gave them away, but at the end, they have their eyes pecked out by doves. Just for good measure. Just for good measure. I really hope they didn't read this to kids back in the day. Little Red Riding Hood. I'm really concerned. If you can believe it, the Brothers Grimm actually made this story a lot nicer than it was when they got their hands on it. Little Red simply strips naked, gets in bed and then dies, eaten up by the big bad wolf. With no miraculous relief in another version, she eats her own grandmother first. You know, just like a pre-sex snack, you know. Her flesh cooked up and her blood poured into a wine glass. Refreshing. I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. This is horrific. Instead, Perrault gives us a little rhyming verse, reminding us that not all wolves are wild beasts. On to the next one. Rumplestiltskin. I'm pretty sure I've read the Grimm version of this one. This story is pretty simple. A miller's daughter is trapped and forced to spin straw into gold on pain of death. A little man appears to her and spins it for her, but says that he will take her child in payment unless she can guess his name. In the Grimm version, as retold by Pullman, when the maiden finally figures out Rapunzel's name, he reacts rather badly. "The devil told you that! The devil told you that!" the little man yelled, and in his fury he stamped his right foot so hard that he drove it into the ground right up to his waist. Then he took hold of his left foot with both hands and tore himself in two. That is exactly what I'd do if I got my right foot stuck in the ground, you know, just leave it behind. Snow White. First of all, in the original 1812 Grimm version of this tale, the evil queen is Snow White's actual mother, not her stepmother. This makes it a lot more terrifying for us. The Disney version also left out the fact that the queen sends the huntsman out to bring back Snow White's liver and lungs, which she then means to eat. And the fact that she's actually not in deep sleep when the prince finds her, she's dead, and he's carting off her dead body to play with later. But then his servants trip, jostles the coffin and dislodges the poisonous apple from Snow White's throat. Most notable, however, oh thank you, is the punishment the Grimms thought up for her. When the queen shows up at Snow White's wedding, she's forced to step into iron shoes that have been cooked in the fire and then dances until she falls dead. Oh, you're so good. This is Oliver, by the way. Hi. Hi. On to the next story. Hansel and Gretel. I have in fact read this one. The Grimm version anyway. It wasn't that bad. Let me see what this one has to say. The version of the story, you know, is already pretty gruesome. The evil stepmother abandons the children to die in the forest. They happen upon a cannibalistic witch. She fattens them up to eat. They outwit and kill her and escape. The Grimm version is basically the same, but in an early French version called The Lost Children, the witch is the devil. And the devil wants to bleed the children on a sawhorse. Of course, they pretend not to know how to get on. So the devil has his wife, who tried to help the poor kids earlier in the story, show them. They promptly slit her throat, steal all the devil's money, and run off. Same. Rapunzel. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. Well, in the grim version she does, a little too often, to a prince and winds up pregnant, innocently remarking to her jailer witch that her clothes feel too tight. The witch, not to have any competition, chops off Rapunzel's hair and magically transports her far away, where she lives as a beggar with no money, no home, and after a few months too hungry mouths to feed. As for the prince, the witch lures him up and then pushes him from the window. Some thorn bushes break his fall, but also poke out his eyes. For all this extra bloodshed, however, there's still a happy ending. The Little Mermaid. Oh no, this used to be one of my favourite movies growing up. Okay, well, you all know the story of the Little Mermaid. She sells her voice for a pair of legs, flops around for a bit, then wins her prince's heart, right? Well, not exactly. In Hans Christian Andersen's original tale, she trades tongue for legs, but part of the deal is that every step will be nearly unbearable, like walking on sharp swords, and the day after the prince marries someone else, she'll die and turn into sea foam. Hoping to win the prince's heart, she dances for him, even though it's agony. Ah! He claps along, but eventually decides to marry another. He's a boy. The mermaid sisters sell their hair to bring her a dagger and urge her to kill the prince and let the blood drip onto her feet, which will then become fins again. She sneaks up on him, but can't bring herself to do it, so she dies and dissolves into foam. Later, Andersen changed the ending so that the mermaid becomes a daughter of the air. If she does good deeds for 300 years, she can get a soul and go to heaven. Many scholars find this rubbish. Brilliant. That's really cute though. She let herself die when she laughs. Next story. Sleeping Beauty. In one of the very earliest versions of the classic story, published in 1634, the princess does not prick her finger on a spindle, but rather gets a sliver of flax stuck under her fingernail. She falls down and apparently dies. Why would that kill someone? Just first point. But her father cannot face the idea of losing her, so he lays her body on a bed in one of his estates. Later, a king out hunting in the woods finds her, and since he can't wake her up, rapes her while she's unconscious, then heads home to his own country. No big deal, just, you know, another day. Sometime after that, still unconscious, she gives birth to 2 children. Second point, okay? How can you give birth whilst unconscious? One of the children accidentally sucks the splinter out of her finger, so she wakes up. The king who raped her is already married, but he burns his wife alive so he and Talia can be together. Isn't that romantic? Don't worry, the wife tries to kill and eat the babies first, so it's morally sound. I love how they put that it's morally sound. I really hope they didn't read this to children. Like, on that note, I'm going to leave it there. I don't even know what to say. I just hope that kids were not being read these versions of stories, or else that would explain why old people have so many conservative views on the world. So that would explain a lot, to be honest. Bye. Bye.